as we welcome in Jeff Howe from On Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Howe OTF. The OTF does not stand for OnlyFans, right? It stands for Only Tech.
Negative.
Okay.
Big negative on that. Nobody needs to nor wants to see that.
On both sides here.
I'm already we're 15 seconds into this thing. I'm already classing it up. So thank you, Cameron.
That's how we do it, right? It's not a Jeff Howe and Cameron Parker interview without it.
The feral hog talk is coming up, so just stand by, everybody.
Well, yeah. Let's start with Ohio State first, and then feral hog talk. Okay,
we can do that. Yep.
Well, first off, where are you joining us from? Are you from? I know Bobby and CJ are up in Columbus. Are you hanging out here in Austin?
I'm safely inside my domicile at this point. Ohio State fans, not necessarily a group that I want to frequent with or mingle with. So I figured, hey, just stay here, make sure the house doesn't burn down, hold the fort down, and we're good. No, but I would just encourage Longhorn fans, be safe. Even the sensible Ohio State fans will tell you that the reputation, as unfortunate as it is deserved. It's been earned.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Craig up there because of all the stories he's had, just going to Texas Tech. I've had friends who were at the Horseshoe in 2005 and unfortunately have not heard a lot of good things that came from that trip in the classiness of Buckeye fans. But hopefully everybody will be okay this week, and hopefully for Texas fans' sake, if they come out with a victory, they get back to their cars pretty quickly. Let's start with this, Jeff. I went on 92.1 The Ticket in Fayetteville and was asked this question, and I'll give my answer, but I didn't really know how to answer it to begin with, and I was asked, is Sark under a lot of pressure to win this game tomorrow?
This has gotten brought up several of our live streams this week, and I came to this conclusion because this was listener opinions, and as we're talking it out, I feel like, fair or unfair, if Texas loses this game, I think the narrative is less to do with Sark, and nationally it's more what do we make of Arch. So I think it would have to be how does the game play out, but I think it's weird to say Sark feels like he's in that spot where Ryan Day was last year. I think where James Franklin finds himself this year. Sark may be a year away from being in that boat. I feel like there's so much attention on Arch, and we all know that. Some of it good, some of it, click farming and whatnot. But I feel like the narrative, Cameron, for better or worse, is going to be about Arch. Like, if Texas wins the game, it's not going to be, oh man, Sark beat Ryan Day in his own house. It's, man, look at Texas with Arch Manning. Are they going to win a national championship?
Yeah, that's a really good point there. I think if you were doing a power ranking of who's under the most pressure to win tomorrow, I think Ryan Day's number one because he was already under so much pressure last year. Now he loses both his coordinators, Chip Kelly to the NFL, Knowles to Penn State, somehow his rival. I feel like if Ryan Day loses tomorrow, there'll be more questions about him than if Texas lost tomorrow, questions about Sark.
Because you got a fan base, an Ohio State fan base, that even though they won a national championship, it's a small percentage, but there's probably 15 to 20% of that fan base that's more upset about the Michigan loss than they are happy about the national championship. So, I mean, Ryan Day he's not John Cooper. He's not, just for men, James Franklin, as my colleague CJ Vogel likes to call him. He's not even souped up Larry Coker, as I've dubbed him at this point. Like, he's got a national championship.
Yeah.
And you win it in the playoff era, you don't fluke your way into that. But he's 1-4 against Michigan. So I feel like whatever Ryan Day does, if he gets to the end of the year and they're 11-0 going into that game and 11-1 coming out of it, it's going to be the same kind of insane talk that we heard last year after that game in Columbus.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, let's look at actually this product on the field for Texas, replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. And it sounds like what we've heard this week is that who we thought would be the starting 5 might be shaken up a little bit. Could we see Connor Stroh? I've heard a lot of Jaden Chapman talk. What are your expectations for this offensive line going into tomorrow's game, and who do you think we'll see as the first 5 out?
I think a lot of it hinges on what is Trevor Goosby's availability, number one, and number two, if he plays. at what percentage is he going to be. He's going to be wearing some club, some kind of club apparatus on his left hand if he plays. I feel even Trevor Gooseby at 85% is better than a lot of tackles nationally at 100%. So I'll take that. I think it has more to do with, when you look at that left guard battle specifically, I think it's got more to do with Connor Stroh had a really good camp, Cameron, from everything we heard. Like, it wasn't coach speak from Sark. Like, Connor Stroh really, really came along. And I feel like he's assignment sound, maybe more assignment sound than Neto Mazzullo. That's just kind of one of the things we've heard coming out of practice this week. So I think you'll see both of them, whichever one starts. I mean, I think there's a real chance you see Connor Stroh come out with the number one offense tomorrow. My thing with the offensive line is this. I don't think it's a bad offensive line. And it's not necessarily replacing the starters. It's that in replacing the starters and elevating guys like Trevor Gooseby and Cole Hudson back into the starting lineup and a guy like Brandon Baker, you look last year, what made that line so good is Hudson and Gooseby were your 6th and 7th guys, whereas now your 6th and 7th guys are going to be either Connor Stroh or Neto Mazzullo. Connor Robertson is probably in that mix at this point. Jaden Chapman might be in that top 6, 7, 8. And those are guys that just haven't played a lot of football. So that's where it's not even depth. It's just you don't have a lot of proven commodities within that group. I've seen much worse Texas offensive lines in the last 15 years. And I know that's not setting the bar very high, but I don't worry about this group from a talent perspective. It's just they haven't played a ton together, and just some of these guys just flat out just haven't played much football.
And especially you have a quarterback who's making his first true road start in an environment like the Horseshoe. Being able to establish the push up front will be huge. You mentioned Trevor Gooseby's injury. Another injury of note appears to be Stanford transfer wideout Emmett Mosley. During spring ball, in fall workouts, I mean, Jeff, you know this better than anybody. The question, hey, who's standing out will get thrown out a lot to the Sark and the coordinators and the players. And sometimes they name someone right, you get excited, and then they don't play at all. I don't think that will be the case with Parker Livingston. We've heard a lot of buzz about him this spring, this fall, but it does appear like Parker is going to have a huge role in this offense possibly this year, especially with Emmett Mosley's injury.
Even if Mosley were to play a lot in this game, which I don't think he will, if he does play, I don't see him taking a ton of snaps. Livingston's going to be your number 3 wide receiver at this point. I mean, and that's another position outside of Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore. You got a lot of talent. You just don't have a lot of proven commodities. But Livingston, I feel like he's perfect for this offense, Cameron. Just when you look at what I think the route tree is going to look more like with Arch at quarterback, I think it's going to be a lot more not just shots down the field in terms of just your goal balls, but a lot outside the numbers, those deep comebacks, those deep stop routes, the back shoulder throws, even like the deeper in breaking routes. And I think this offense is going to be more about Arch throwing it on the spot and guys either running to it or running under it rather than being so much based on yards after the catch like it was the last couple of years with Quinn. I think that's perfect for Parker Livingston. He's a long strider. He can get on top of guys, take the top off of defense. So I think he's perfect for kind of that role. And so I'll put it this way. I go back to 2005. I go all the way back there. And if Parker Livingston can be for Arch what Billy Pittman was for Vince Young, he'll have had a really good year.
It's a receiver room, Jeff, that I'm really high on. I'm not sure. DeAndre Moore had his injuries this past season. Ryan Wingo had LASIK eye surgery in the spring. I think being able to see the football is pretty big for a wide receiver. And then this incredible freshman class coming in, Kalik Lockett, Jamie French. There's a lot of guys. I think I made this comparison before, Jeff. There's that picture of the Alabama wideouts, right? I can't remember if Sark was the OC, but it was like Waddle, Harry Ruggs, Devontae Smith. I think this Texas receiver room could be pretty similar by the end of the year in terms of the talent and depth Sark has built at this position and to go along with Arch Manning at quarterback.
Yeah, and Jerry Jeudy was the 4th. That was Sark's first year back at Bama as the OC. They have four first rounders in that room. Of those young guys, I think Dalen McCutcheon is probably the most ready to play right now, but how much is he going to play because he's primarily a slot guy. We know DeAndre Moore's in the slot. So I don't know how much you're going to see him play on Saturday. I think of the other guys, Khalil Lockett's probably come the furthest since camp started. That's not a knock on Jamie French, but I just think Khalil Lockett's kind of hit his stride, for lack of a better term, the last couple of weeks of camp. And I think Michael Terry might have the highest ceiling of any of these guys, but he's probably also got the furthest to come just because he's learning how to be a wide receiver first and foremost. So I think of those young guys, it'll either be Dalen McCutcheon or Khalil Lockett. I think will be the first freshman, true freshman you see on the field tomorrow.
Talking with Jeff Howe from On Texas Football. Who do you expect to be more aggressive tomorrow? Sark on offense or PK on defense?
I think it's going to be Sark on offense. In these games, you go back, even the Alabama game in 2022, Cameron, think back to that game before Quinn got hurt. I mean, they came out and they're ripping the ball down the field, and they're moving it on Alabama almost at will. And, the 23 game in Tuscaloosa, Michigan last year, play to your quarterback's strengths, put the game in his hands, turn him loose. I think that's what Sark is going to do with Arch. If PK is not, he's never been a big blitz guy. And I don't think he's suddenly going to flip that switch and be a big blitz guy. My thing is simulated pressure. How many different looks do you show Julian saying? And the thing that I really want to see, and I think can take this defense even to another level beyond what it was last year. I go back to Dwayne Akina's first tenure at Texas, and this is his job now as the defensive pass game coordinator. I've never seen a Texas defense where the back end tied with the front, where you tie fronts and coverages the way Dwayne Akina and Will Muschamp did. And I think now that, Dwayne Akina and Johnny Nansen worked together at Arizona, I think Dwayne Akina and PK, there's some synergy there. So I really want to see, Cameron, how that looks. I think what you're missing in terms of the communication with Andrew Makuba and Jahdae Barron moving on, I think you could make up for it just with the synergy between those three coaches, Akina, Nansen, and PK, to tie the front end with the back end.
Yeah, it was secondary's best friend is a good pass rush, and Texas has that, and Colin Simmons and Trey Moore. Outside of Arch Manning, what are you paying attention to the most in tomorrow's game between Texas and Ohio State? Could be a player, could be a positional group. What's got your eye?
There's a few things. One, I want to see what this offense does in the red zone on your red zone possessions. Two, man, field goal kicking. And how much does Sark trust Will Stone and or Mason Shipley? And, at what points in the field does he still consider this offense to be in 4-down territory? Like, that's going to be something that I want to see. And then I want to see if CJ Baxter's on a pitch count tomorrow. I think he will be, Cameron, to an extent. But, man, in this kind of game, if you start giving a guy carries and he gets into a rhythm and, he's maximizing his runs to where he's turning, 3 or 4 yard gains into 6-7 yard gains. And then as he wears down a defense, we're talking about a 225-pound back. I mean, those 6 and 7 yarders, if you're patient and stick with the run, are they 12 and 15 yarders later in the game? So I think they may go into this game with having an idea that CJ Baxter is going to be on a pitch count. I wouldn't be surprised if we looked up at the end of the day and he's got, I think probably my expectation is to be kind of in the 9 to 12 range with carries. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 15 plus tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm curious how Sark and running backs coach Chad Scott handle this running back room, because you bring back CJ Baxter. Of course, Trey Wisner had a fantastic year this past year. You return Jarrett Gibson, who was kind of in the doghouse at points with fumbling issues. And then, of course, you bring back Christian Clark. And some of these running backs, they need to find some rhythm, some consistency to get in the flow with the offense and the offensive line. So definitely a key point to watch out for in tomorrow's game. Before we talk feral hogs here, prediction for tomorrow.
I think Ohio State by the end of the year. I think for this game, I just think there's too much stuff that's new. Julian saying, I mean, at least Arch is adjusted to the speed of the college game. Julian Sand's going to be seeing it for the first time. And I don't know that this is the defense that you want to, take your quarterback's confidence and his ability to read the defense for a test drive. So I think, Cameron, it's probably going to be ugly in the first half on both sides. And then Texas eventually pulls away, wins by a touchdown.
Okay. Jeff Howe taking the Longhorns. Okay. Feral Hogs. If you don't, this is super inside baseball, I think, for this program. But you sent me and Craig a text from our group text from when we all worked together back at the old old spot.
Mhm.
And feral hogs, I'm guessing this ties back to, was it Tom Herman, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm fascinated by feral hogs to begin with, because I think people need to remember, like, I grew up in Florence, right? So feral hogs, I mean, there people do have feral hog problems. Got a lot of ranchers out there, so I'll talk about the hog problem. But yeah, the fascinating thing is we found out, and actually, uh, Coach Joe Austin at Southwestern is really kind of the Craig and I were doing an interview with him, and that was really the first time where
Hmm.
that stretch of I-30, of 130, I should say, the stretch of 130 that goes like from Buda all the way down to Seguin, where it's 80 miles and where the speed limit's 80 miles an hour. Like, you've got a massive feral hog problem on that part of 130, and like 18 wheelers will just be cruising by at 80, and the hog, like, you can't brake, right? So you're just plowing into these feral hogs that are overpopulated in that part of the state, and basically you're just like getting exploding hogs on the road. So like it's they're quite resilient creatures. I mean, I've heard stories of, like, feral hog v rattlesnake. Feral hog wins because, like, you bite into the hog skin and, like, it's breaking teeth. So then the rattlesnake gets trampled because it doesn't have fangs at that point. Like, I've heard all kinds of stories like that feral hogs just fascinate me. So I saw one that it didn't quite make it across Ranch Road 12 the other day on my way into town. So I had to let you and Craig know about that ASAP, just in case y'all needed show content. I know y'all got a lot to cram into a couple hours, but there's always time for feral hog talk.
Always. We appreciate it very much. Okay. Before I let you go, describe your thoughts on the Micah Parsons trade in one sentence.
Pain. And you got it. Like, first off, the fact that Jerry in the press conference yesterday called him Michael, I lost count of how many times that happened. Trying to, in some weird way, replicate the Herschel Walker trade that is impossible to replicate. I don't know, man. As a Cowboys fan, I watched the Netflix documentary, and it was, 8 episodes of Jerry trying to take credit for stuff that happened 35 years ago that he really doesn't deserve credit for in the first place. And it's just accepting that reality, Cameron, that as long as he still lives and breathes, the buck stops with him, and whatever the owner wants, the owner's going to get. So until that's no longer the case, we'll keep I'll just stay on the hamster wheel with the other Cowboys fans, and we'll keep, falling off and getting back on every fall.
He is Jeff Howe from On Texas Football. How can we read and watch your work pregame and postgame, maybe even during the game?
Yes. On TexasFootball.com. You can get over there. The On Texas Football YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in On Texas Football. It'll pop up. Go ahead and subscribe. We'll be doing we got a pregame show, we got a watch along, we got postgame shows. So in addition to consuming content on Zone, go ahead and check us out over at On Texas Football before, during, and after the game tomorrow.
Thanks, buddy. Tell the family I said hi, and watch out for those feral hogs, huh?
Cameron, Mr. Smudge is sitting over here in the corner. He's still kicking. He's still alive and well. So he sends his regards.
Good to hear. Good to hear. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, bud.